Hey guys, good evening. It's good to be back. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic which may trigger a few people, but yeah, this is the truth and my opinion and some facts. So today's topic is very interesting. It's about why men don't care for a woman's status, title, degree, or career. I mean, you can club some of them together, but I'm sure you get the drift, right? So one of the reasons I'm also doing this is because I have a daughter at home who actually thinks that her career will matter from a romantic relationship or finding a partner perspective. And I've seen many other women argue online also with me when I speak to them that, my husband doesn't seem to be bothered about my career ambitions or the fact that I'm a VP at Google or, some big firm. And, my degree of MBA doesn't seem to matter, or my success seems to be not making my husband more endearing or my boyfriend more attracted to me, right? So let's get a little deeper into that. To summarize, I just want to make a few points that men don't typically fall in love with your resume. They fall in love with the experience of you. We'll go a little deeper. And just to be very clear, it has nothing to do with patriarchy or misogynistic attitudes or the fact that men don't want you to be educated. I just wanted to make that very clear. It's more to do with psychology, evolution, and biology. So that's good. Good. Now, what does it mean that you're hyper successful? Let's say you have a great job, you have a house, you have a great life going, you have an amazing career, PhD, or you're a CXO in a big firm. That's great for you. Make no mistake, your life is set. You're apparently more stable and safe from a life perspective. So that's great for you. It also shows everyone that you're a very respectable person, whether man or a woman. In this case, we're talking about a woman's career, right? Says you are respectable. It shows that you've worked hard. You're willing to fight it out in the let's say in a very tough world and in any field that you've taken. So that's all great. But that doesn't make you more attractive to men from a sexual marketplace perspective. If you are in the market and you think that my degree would endear or attract more high status men that you desire, that is not the truth or the fact. That is exactly the message that I want to give. Because you may think, oh, why is it not the case? Because what is actually happening is this, right? I'll just summarize. What women find attractive in men is not necessarily what men find attractive in women. In this specific case, you are worried about a man's career, status, his dominance, his aggressiveness, or his position or strata in the society, right? The higher in the dominance hierarchy and capability hierarchy, the more women tend to like him, right? But that is not necessarily the case for men. Men, in fact, don't want those qualities in a woman, preferably, right? Now, um, sometimes I see that women are a little confused. In fact, they're befuddled when I tell them that this is not the case. Right now, when I was telling my daughter the same thing, she was also a bit shocked. And then if I have to, let's say, explain in some crude analogy form, may not be the perfect, but let's say I tell you, let's say you're a potential partner, you're a beautiful girl. I'm dating you and I'm looking to marry you, for example, right? I meet you and then conversation. I'm just saying I have 5 pairs of sneakers, formal shoes, belts in 7 different colors, and kerchiefs, 20 kerchiefs in different colors. Yeah, and I say I have a beautiful wardrobe. I care a lot about taking care of my beauty, fashion, etc. Then what would most likely a woman's reaction say? Yeah, okay, cool. The message here is that it is slightly your reaction is more like indifferent, right? Okay, cool, and good that you have different watches, belts, or handkerchiefs. Good for you, right? It's the same way. So your career, your car, your self-made, let's say, life is great for you, and not necessarily the attributes that men are typically looking for. It doesn't endear you to them anyways. So, in a sense, man is not attracted to a woman's success or status, right? The way women is attracted, man is not attracted to that. Uh, the other reason is that your success plays very little contribution to him, right? That's not something that he's looking for. And the contribution a man does when he's successful versus what a woman does in successful marriages, uh, it's not the same, right? That's another thing. Secondly, there's a lot of stuff normal, let's say less successful woman would just do for a man, would be happy to do for a reasonably successful man, right? Which a successful woman would not do in a marriage that a man is actually looking for. You get what I'm saying? So obviously, it just kind of defeats the polarity principle of attraction, and that's not something that men ideally prefer. Cool. So essentially, then the question people might actually ask is, what is it then men might prefer if I'm in the marketplace and I'm actually looking for a higher value man than myself, right? And women are typically hypergamous, in which you tend to date up and across. You're looking for someone higher in status than you, and you might then ask for like, what is this thing that men might value more? And you could just say men are just looking for ultra feminine qualities. That's about it. You should not be masculine, an argumentative feminist varieties, who are kind of competing in the house. He doesn't want to come home to you and then compete and say that, this is what I achieved at work. That's not something that is willing to um, sign up for, right? So he's looking for kindness, attention. Will you be a great wife and a great mother to his children? Loyalty. These are the other thing is main thing is looking for is obviously your physical attributes and your beauty. When people might say, "Oh, that's like skin deep and all that nonsense," but yeah, you can keep crying. But that's a fact. Men primarily look for a woman's femininity, which includes her beauty as one of the foremost things that he typically looks for. Cool. So now a few things that I will just touch on to go a little deeper. Now, you might say, why is that the case, right? I mean, just at a high level, it's also by evolutionary design, point number one, right? So men and women have different filters to shortlist their mate, right? That is how we evolved. Women were looking for resource ability, right? Is the man resourceful, right? And how does she judge it? Like, okay, very reliable person, and will he protect and provide? Protection and provisioning, right? We are women very clear, right? And the higher you were in the dominance and competence hierarchy, the chances are that you would be able to provide and protect for a very long time, which made her very safe. And she's looking for primarily for safety in any relationship, right? And that's what women were looking for. And which is why in those days you also found kings and nobles and multiple, men and higher strata of the society having even multiple wives because women were willing to share him, unlike men who would not share their wives. What is a man then looking for in return, right? He's looking for signs of beauty, warmth, and emotional capability as well. Things that will endear him, where healthy bonding, great qualities of a mother. The kindness and the warmth and those things. He was not really looking to go and see, oh, she studied in this particular school. She did MBA in Harvard or in law in Yale school, for example. Those are not things he was looking for. Your fancy jobs and high salary didn't really mean much to a man, any which case it was not even an aspect that he considered. Now, basically, from an evolution perspective, it doesn't really. It's actually quite irritating, to be honest. When a woman come and talk like that to most men, it's actually quite irritating. We don't say it out, but it's not attractive. Our brain doesn't even register when you go on and on about what you've accomplished at work or stuff. We respect it, but it doesn't register as being a marriageable or a someone that we might consider as a wife material. Right? It's just a neutral message to me. Cool. That's now one. Now, second aspect I want to talk about is also on the aspect of why how a man ties his identity in a relationship, right? Now, since he is tying his identity to provisioning and protection, right? And what he can leave as a legacy in the society by the time he passes away, right? And that's something that men are quite keen on doing. Most don't get to do that, but most men would love to leave an imprint on in the world that he lives in by maybe building something great. It could be a great company or a great child or something that write a book or a movie, something that makes people remember him for a lifetime. That's how you want to leave a legacy, and men are actually quite driven by that. Whether they admit or not, that's actually the truth, right? And that is attractive to a woman, right? When a man says, I want to be the best fighter or a boxer or become a VP or a CEO in a company, I want to start my own business. These were attractive qualities in a man, the ambition and the drive, which a woman likes, but not the other way, right? Now, since these are main things that a man really wants to do in his life, purely, and this is also biological and evolutionary, right? The chance when he does all these things, the chances are that he's higher in the society strata, which means he has a higher chance of success and also higher chance of attracting multiple beautiful women and sire more kids and obviously have more children. That is what he was looking to do. It also shows resourcefulness, because the higher you grow, the same similar network of friends and colleagues that you would have typically, and which means you're showing that I'm more resourceful than just my degree and the status that I've achieved for myself. So when a woman comes and says, I'm successful, I earn well, I have a top title, it's not just impressive, it's quite irrelevant or neutral. And sometimes I've generally seen that women argue, oh, that's very insecure of you. It's actually not insecurity, right? Because typically you've already married someone at least at your level or slightly higher due to hypergamous nature of relationships that work so far. And that's fine, right? So obviously it's not insecure. It's quite irritating that because it doesn't really matter. It's not a matter for discussion. That it's just irritating to even consider. That's how it looks like. And your success in a way also kind of in a way, what do you call, belittles, I wouldn't say belittle, but kind of puts him in a situation where he thinks he can't fulfill the primary role of being the provider, right? Right. So that's also another angle. So it's almost like demeaning his role of being the leader in the relationship, which kind of gets a little destabilized or becomes less important in a relationship in which the woman is of equal standing from, let's say, status and career angle. So yeah, that's so to summarize, you would probably value kindness or femininity over your credentials or CV. Third point, I just want to speak a little bit about polarity. So, when I say polarity, we're going to speak about masculine versus feminine energy. I'll just keep it quick. Um, so, men don't fall in love with authority masculine traits, right? Obviously, as a woman, you love masculine traits. As a man, men love feminine traits. That's polarity, right? And that's what creates attraction between two people. Now, men don't fall in love with authority, dominance, status, the leadership vibes and energy that you give, claiming that you're strong and independent, flashing like a badge. All right. Those are not attractive qualities that men fall in love with. It's great for you. We might sit and talk, say, oh, wow, wonderful, great, good for you. And we pity the man who marries you after that, because that's not something that we would look to do in life. Oh, because these traits are hardcore masculine traits. Whether you like it or not, that's how it is. It is not to say that you should not compete. Of course, feel free to compete. But from a marriage or a dating perspective, these are again qualities that are not hyper attractive to any man. They don't create romantic attraction. What instead creates the attraction, I've already told you, warmth, softness, the emotional comfort you generate, the femininity, and in a way, I would say innocence to an angle, right? I think I personally find that extremely attractive when I meet a girl. If you signify peace, innocence, and femininity radiates from your face and your actions, that's like extremely attractive, irrespective of what kind of degree you have or not. It doesn't really matter, but these are ones that are highly prioritized over the other stuff that you have. Another caveat or a point I want to make here, just to be very clear, right, is that it's okay if you're highly accomplished, you can have a great degree, career, etc. You can have all of it, right? Not a problem. But if you still have these feminine qualities that some of which I listed, it is still irresistibly attractive, right? And I've seen quite a few women like that. And in fact, many women like that I have interacted with in life in the last few years. Many of them have been like that. Not all of them, but are like that, right? So if you have both of it, great for you. But if you only have the other one, then and not this one, then it's a little difficult. Yeah. Now, the other thing in terms of I want to point number 4 that I want to speak about is a woman is seeking a higher status man, right? Because it makes things more safer for her, and that's something that she wants to show to people under the world, that she was capable of attracting a higher status man, right? That's something that you value. Whereas the reverse is not quite true. In fact, we would probably marry the most shy and inconspicuous woman that is around, right? And that means it could be a barista, someone who works in McDonald's, as they typically say, or someone who even does a clerical work in a housing society or a bank. Not to demean their role, but I'm just saying that the role she plays doesn't really matter as long as she has more feminine qualities, or even if she is very, let's say, uh, less educated than you are, for example. Because women tend to choose partners who are more confident, ambition driven, higher income, and power, right? That is what we are looking for. But men exactly look for quite the opposite. We don't date for status. It's great if you're reasonably educated, tick mark, you can take care of my child's education up to a certain stage, and then our school takes care of it. That's good enough for us, right? Obviously, you are educated to a decent degree. That's good enough. Your PhD levels or double PhDs, and your status in a big company doesn't really matter too much. And his brain just doesn't care about it. I mean, that's the truth. It has zero evolutionary relevance or significance to his life. Now, finally, before we sum it up, right? So one of the things most men look for is the something called as a peace principle. Of course, I just coined it. If you're a woman who makes a man feel peaceful when you interact, it can be in a 10-minute coffee setting, tea setting, or at home. And if you could show that you're such a woman in interaction, and that's, with the way you act, with the way you talk, the kind of energy that you radiate, the kind of feminine energy that oozes out of you when you're with him. That's what men actually are more interested in. Is it peaceful versus draining, respectable versus criticizing, or do I desire her versus can I tolerate her? Do I feel understood or feeling judged? Right, emotionally safe versus exhausting. The nagging types who keep talking, loud mouths, screaming, and yeah, a bunch of qualities that are just not attractive for a man. Soft voice, something simple, right? In that innocence and the casual childlike curiosity that some women actually bring in. That's extremely attractive, and I've actually seen quite a lot of women like that, even if they are in whether they're a housewife or maybe CXO in a big company. I've come across both sets of people, and a lot of women espouse these qualities wonderfully, and that's what will is more endearing or attractive to masculine or any men, for most men in general, right? Of course, there's going to be exceptions, but yeah, this is generally the norm. What then happens in sometimes when men marry, end up let's say hyper masculine women, as life becomes a bit of a trouble. They don't necessarily enjoy it. They will not argue because it destabilizes the family, and divorce is quite expensive these days. So what men typically do is they look for a woman who will give peace, right? It could be someone who's hardly educated or less educated, someone at office or someone outside, doesn't really matter. I don't have an affair or a sidekick, that kind of makes him feel like a man again, feels respected and feel like a man. That's what men tend to look for, right? So, yeah. So men are not typically going to come home thinking, "Wow, she's an AVP at Microsoft. I want to, sit with her and have a chat about what happened in the Scrum meeting today evening." Right? That's not something men are actually looking. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I just wanted to. It's not to trigger anyone, particularly if you're a girl or a woman who's looking to do well in life. Yeah, by all means, please go ahead. You can become a nuclear physicist. Great, right? Even wish you well, not a problem. But I just want to give out the facts. As I said, I don't make the rules. I'm just conveying the message that what men actually think about your degree, etc. Of course, achievements will make you respected, and in fact, you should study really well and do well in your college, school, wherever you are. That's absolutely fine. It's great for you, but that's not an energy that will. I mean, your energy is what will make you loud, not these degrees, right? Um, One of the things I've seen women say in general as to why they're hyper focused on these things even if that's not their number one preference, or they think it's more important to them, is because they've been kind of told that men might, it's more like an insurance policy, right? They think that a man might leave them halfway at 35s and 40s, after 8, 10 years of marriage. A man could leave her for a younger or a more hotter or a beautiful version of a girl, in which case, if she doesn't earn and if she's financially dependent on him, then it becomes extremely difficult. So obviously that's understandable. And that's a valid point, which tends to obviously flip the scales and puts her at a disadvantaged position, where she's thinking, no, I don't want to be in that kind of a bad situation. So I might as well educate myself well and stand on my own legs and rules, that I don't have to be too dependent on him, right? So from that perspective, your education definitely is handy. The other situation where it will actually help is if when the man loses his job, right, midway, and you're educated and you still have a career going and you're earning money, which is good enough. It keeps the house going and keeps everything running. That's obviously extremely valuable, right? From that perspective, it's all brilliant. So these are practical aspects I'm talking about. But from other perspectives that we discussed, these are not really the tipping points, or let's say it doesn't move the scale too much as you actually think it might, right? That's about it. I'll see you next week with some other interesting topic. Feel free to, if you like this video or if you have a different opinion, feel free to like, share, subscribe, and or drop a comment. I'll see you soon. Cheers.